As we introduce a new audience joining us on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. We're live here with several different camera angles showing you an unfolding situation right now in Washington, D.C., near the University of D.C.'s Van Ness campus, placed on lockdown as a result of an active shooter situation, a situation that still, by all indications, with what we're seeing here with movements of units and tactical gear here, everything appears to be very active at this moment. We've seen several different officers with guns drawn, pointed towards a particular apartment-looking building, and you can see they're running to that same area here on the right side of your screen. We'll go back here to the split screen coverage and keep you posted with any additional camera angles that we have of what's folding in D.C. Again, a reminder, according to multiple reports now out of the area, at least 3 people shot. If we have any updates on those that have been injured as a result of the active shooter situation, we'll keep you posted here on WFLA Now.
Okay. Let me page him in or text him again and ask him. Okay, Jake, go ahead.
Thank you. Just moments ago, saw officers running into the building. They had also been crouched behind the tree for cover and pointing guns at one point, but they are now, it appears, inside the building. Some had guns in hand. They're in their tactical gear. One was carrying a shield. It is not quite clear who or the multiple people they are looking for. We did see one person being let out earlier in handcuffs and placed under arrest, but it appears the police do still have at least one more person, if not several, that they are looking for. But yeah, very much an active scene out here. Both the University of D.C. and the nearby Edmund Burke School are still on lockdown. We've been speaking with a number of family members who have shown up here to check on the status of their loved ones. They, of course, are terrified, very concerned for their safety. Many didn't want to go on camera, which is understandable, but they tell me they're just desperate for news to make sure that their loved ones are okay, and hoping for communication from the respective schools as to what is going on. But we are stationed here at Connecticut and Van Ness, outside the Ava Van Ness apartment building, which seems to be where a lot of the activity has been focused. We're also keeping a close eye on 3 DC fire ambulances that just showed up. Again, we have not seen anybody put into those ambulances yet, but as my colleague Jackie Benson said, it leads you to believe that those ambulances here are here for a reason, perhaps to transport victims. We did earlier, about an hour ago, see an ambulance speeding away from the scene, potentially with a victim inside. We know 2 men and 1 girl shot this afternoon. That is the very latest. Back into you. It's hard to tell where they went. They were running southbound on Connecticut away from where we are, and this whole area is blocked off with police tape, so it's kind of difficult for us to maneuver around. We, of course, do want to give them privacy as well, as they've just gone through a traumatic experience. But yeah, they ran at the bottom of the hill there, so they've disappeared, and it's tough to see where they went, but they were running very quickly away from that Ava building.
As we see more individuals come from that area being escorted by police. JB here with you live, folks, on WFLA Now. Obviously, this is happening in our nation's capital. For folks wondering exactly where this is the northwest quadrant of the city, northwest Washington, D.C., near the University of the District of Columbia. Let's listen in for this report.
In the liquor store over there, they were huddling, sheltering in place, as they were told. They were too afraid to come outside for fear of their safety. Police officers earlier were telling people to take cover behind buildings. So that just goes to show you how much of a threat there still is to the public. Those people still too afraid to come outside.
To finish up on that point real quick, of course, this being in our nation's capital, northwest quadrant is where Van Ness is located. That is where the University of the District of Columbia campus that we're talking about is located, as far as the shooting being near a school campus. Now, you might be wondering, where in Washington, D.C. is this in relation to, of course, the Capitol District and Washington and the White House? The White House, approximately 4 miles from this location. Washington, D.C. traffic, that's about a 30 to 35-minute drive this time of day. It's a bit of a ways to get from this area to the White House or to the Capitol. But still within Washington, D.C. is where we're talking about. Again, remains an active shooter situation that is currently unfolding in the Van Ness neighborhood near the University of the District of Columbia campus that you're looking at here on your screen. At least 3 people shot. If we have any updated information from the reporters on the ground, we'll, of course, pass it along here to you live on WFLA Now. We'll continue to listen in and bring you as many live feeds as we have. As we take a look here at some more tactical units arriving, bringing equipment closer to the scene. Lower some audio here. A lot of attention being focused on the Ava Van Ness apartment building. That's where we saw multiple officers entering that building, and as they had their guns drawn, and those guns, their firearms, were pointed northward. Let's listen again for this live report.
The thing that comes to mind to me is the shooting at the Navy Yard. That is the level of the police response that we are seeing here, the level of concern, and the level of absolute terror by the parents and by other people here who live in this neighborhood. You can see, more police officers going up there. I believe this is part of their effort to secure and to clear, which is the term that they use, this neighborhood. I also want to tell you something about those shots. You heard that audio earlier. The friend who had sent in he was actually loading his hummingbird feeder and records it, and that is the audio. That's why it looked like that so many shots. He is a former television news photographer. He timed out the distance, how long it was between the second and third burst of shots. He timed it out as 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So you can imagine what was going on here for the people on this street, how absolutely terrified, confused initially, and then terrified. When we arrived on the scene, there were still people who were running out of that block. As you know, there were only a couple police cars here when we got here. Now there are dozens and dozens of them.
Hey everybody, JB here with you live again on WFLA Now. Looking here at this shot, I just want to make this clear. We're still, again, by all indications, this is an active shooter situation. You can see that we have multiple officers with guns drawn, pointed in the direction of the Ava Van Ness apartment building. This is about 4 miles away from the White House in the northwest quadrant of Washington, D.C. One of the things that's very interesting about this scene that is unfolding, just a little bit, a tidbit for myself, news cameras and the media staging area that is usually set up amid an active shooter situation is very rarely this close to where a majority of the law enforcement action is focused. Right there by, you can kind of see it there, you see that sign that says AV and then there's an A behind it. It's a black sign with those orange square letters. That's the building where a lot of this attention is focused. You're seeing a lot of this action, like officers running in and out of the building, bringing tactical gear to the building itself. You're seeing all of this unfold in real time. This is relatively rare for cameras to be located this close to an unfolding active shooter situation. Normally, it's several blocks away. Cameras are positioned there. We just had this unfold with what happened in New York City with the of course, the terrible situation that unfolded in the Brooklyn subway. Cameras were positioned and pushed back multiple blocks. Right now, the media area, and let's bring this up here full screen, folks, because we have more people now being evacuated. Let's listen in. What appears to be students being escorted to safety from the area of that apartment building, the Ava apartment building in the Van Ness neighborhood. As I was saying, it is not common when it comes to active shooter situations for there to be something like this, a zoomed in shot from a camera able to see officers with guns drawn in the direction of where that law enforcement attention is focused. It does happen, but it's not relatively common. So right now, this is still an active unfolding situation, active shooter situation in Washington, D.C. And because we're this close, and because we have this direct viewpoint of where the attention is focused with this active shooter situation, we have to remind our audience, disclaimer, that anything can happen on a live feed at any moment. So this is a live feed from Washington, D.C., and we'll just keep a very close eye on law enforcement activity as, again, they have guns drawn in the direction of that apartment building. Good to see that more individuals have been escorted to safety. We have seen several different moments in this live stream of people being rushed to outside the area where this perimeter has been set up. Again, staying here with you live on WFLA Now, and we'll bring you any additional camera feeds that we have access to here from the Van Ness neighborhood of Washington, D.C.
This is something we've seen a number of times now over the past hour or so, people running and being evacuated, trying to get away from that area very quickly. They've, of course, been through such a traumatic experience and being told to shelter in place, not knowing what's going on, and then having to quickly evacuate that area. We've also seen a number of police officers a short time ago move into the building. Some had shields in hand. Others were carrying what appeared to be guns and other tactical gear. They were staging or setting up or something of the like. We've also seen officers standing outside the building, pointing guns at times in the area of the building, some crouching behind trees or cars, using them as shields. So it appears there is still someone or multiple people that they are still looking for. Earlier, we did see one person being led down the street, hands behind his back in handcuffs. Not clear what his connection is to all of this, but that investigation still very much ongoing. The police are all standing out here at the ready, many, with their gear in hand. We see a number of shields nearby, just waiting to see what is going on. We know that DC police have tweeted police are conducting active sweeps. We now see what appears to be some type of tank with two men riding on the back of it, driving in that direction. Several men staging. Not clear what they're here for, but they have just moved into that area where we've seen all the officers running to earlier. They have guns in hand. They're getting out of the vehicle, waiting to see what they're going to do here. Staging right outside the Ava Van Ness building.
For those of you unable to see, because you might be watching on a mobile phone, that says FBI on the back of their uniforms. So this is FBI now arriving at the scene.
Lots of people, homes, and businesses here, just watching as these people stage out here right outside the Ava Van Ness building. This is at Connecticut Avenue and Van Ness Street, right near UDC and the Edmund Burke School, both of which are still locked down. We've spoken with a number of families who are anxiously awaiting news of their kids who are trapped inside, just waiting to see what is going on, but clearly still very much a threat to the public as we work to learn more information. Yeah, I have not. The Bank of America does appear to be dark, so they may have closed, but DC police had recommended everybody in this area, both residents and employees, shelter in place if possible. We've seen a number of people taking shelter in the liquor store. They were afraid to come out. And we first got here about an hour and a half ago. We were standing here and an officer told us to move back and take cover behind a building. That's how very much real the threat was. So we, of course, did as we were told. But that recommendation to shelter in place is still in effect. Police have this whole area blocked off, and we've spoken with a number of residents as well who are just waiting here because they live on the other side of that police tape and they have not been able to get home. They're just waiting to be told when they'll be able to, but of course it appears it could be several more hours before they're able to do so.
They're using that truck as a shield.
Oh, yeah.
As we have more units arriving here to the Ava Van Ness apartment building where the active shooter situation is primarily focused. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now, getting some new information from NBC4 Washington, our NBC affiliate in Washington, D.C. There's windows near this location that are broken near where the shooting is said to have occurred. Police responding, of course, to that area. And they can confirm to NBC4 Washington that there was never a shooter inside the school, but near the school is what we're hearing at this time. As a reminder, when it comes to reports in an unfolding active situation like this, a lot of the details that come out, the reliability of details such as that, it varies. It varies from story to story, but as a reminder, a lot can change with a rapidly unfolding situation like the one that we have on our hands here in Washington, D.C. So again, the report from NBC4 Washington, windows broken at the school, but that the shooting did not occur in the school building itself, rather near, or really rather right outside the school building. Again, we're talking about the University of Washington, or excuse me, the University of the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C., the Van Ness campus in the northwest quadrant of the city. We'll continue to listen in and bring you the latest as it unfolds here on WFLA Now. Going to now another reporter as well.
Believe that they, at this point, know where the shooter is, although I will tell you, they may know who the shooter is. So they are, again, going in through here in the safest possible way, trying to get people out and get people safe until, as they say in police terminology, the scene is secure. I think there are still people there that they would like to get out of there. I think there are people sheltering in place, and I think that they want to, if someone is in a vulnerable position, a lower floor perhaps, something like that, or a single family home, they want to get those people to a position of safety. And those are the people you've seen running down the street. Yes, the FBI released a statement saying they are deploying all resources that the D.C. police request in order to help them in this situation, and will provide more if necessary, I believe the statement said. Hey Jim, I have something. This is some sound with a Howard University law student. She did not want to appear on camera, but she was able to narrate for me what she and the friend who was with her heard when they were, I believe that they were driving down, I know they were driving down Van Ness Street, but I believe they hit the intersection with that alley just as this shooting began. We have that audio. Do you want to play it for us, please? And I'll tell you, when I talked to those young women, my heart was in my throat, because I have a daughter who's not too far out of law school, and they were shaken, but my goodness, you heard how composed she was about describing what she'd heard. And another thing that I want to tell you, oh, okay, go ahead. No, and another thing that I want to tell you is, and it's something that happens, I have seen happen in situations before, they have to make sure, and I mentioned this earlier, that gunman has not made his way, possibly by force, into one of the hundreds of apartments on this street and maybe holding someone hostage. They have to make sure they've got to clear every single one of these buildings, knock on the door, are you okay, shelter in place, and it is nerve-wracking because there are so many apartments in this immediate area. You know, Jim, I mentioned the social media thing that I was talking about earlier, and right now I don't know exactly what happened here, and I don't want to speculate, but I can tell you my feeling for what I am hearing is I'm going away from two groups of people shooting at each other, which is, you know, so often in D.C. and all these shootings we've had, you know, in this last 2 years, they've gone up so high. I'm going away from that. And, you know, as I said, it will come out, but it appears to be something a bit more darker than two groups of people shooting at each other. And it's scary, it's terrifying. And I can only hope that they are able to take this shooter into custody soon. I mean, that based on what we are hearing, based on what people are seeing, that seems to me to be, you know, it's much harder for a number of people to get completely away. It is much easier for one person to slip away.
FBI agents pull up on the scene. Those agents had guns in hand. Want to give you a closer look now. They have been using at times the tanks as a shield to get closer to that Ava Van Ness building where all of this is happening. Dressed in tactical gear. Some had moved towards the building. Some are still waiting outside. We see a number of DC police officers as well with their shields out. They were also carrying a number of cases, presumably carrying guns inside. So we're just waiting to see. We still don't know who they're looking for, how many people they're looking for, but obviously they are searching for someone inside that building. Throughout the past hour and a half, we have seen a number of groups of residents running down the street, being evacuated to safety after such a traumatic experience they've gone through. Also want to point out, we have seen about 3 ambulances coming here on standby. They have just been sitting for now. We have not seen any victims being put into those ambulances. It's not clear if they're simply here as a precautionary measure or if they're waiting for a victim to be brought out. But I want to bring your attention now to the agents. They appear to be moving towards
concerned with, you know, to find out exactly what's going on. And
hey,
so
you guys,
settled in.
You got to be on this side of the WFLA line, or they're going to make us move.
And
you have to be on this side.
Said, a lot of press here trying to figure out how to deal with a kind of crazy situation.
As we get in some new camera angles here showing you the Van Ness neighborhood of Northwest Washington, D.C., where an active shooter situation continues to unfold. I'm going to start to get to some of the questions and comments that we have for those of you perhaps just joining us in the Facebook Live and YouTube Live comment sections, others who have been here for some time who might want some clarification on some points. A lot that we don't know. We got to make that very clear up front. A lot that we don't know about this story, relying, of course, on the reporters that are on the ground. They're the ones closest to this scene, and they're the ones who have the most information as this continues to unfold in Northwest Washington, D.C. Let's start with YouTube Live. Ashley Oakes saying, hashtag KJB, is the shooter or shooters in custody? We do have a report of one person being taken away in handcuffs. However, their connection to this active shooter situation isn't clear. And with all the law enforcement activity in the aftermath of that, this is still very clearly an active shooter situation. We're now getting in some chopper audio there. I'll bring in a different camera shot there as well, just showing you, look at how much law enforcement presence that we have here. DC Fire and EMS. We have the 7th District Police Department. I'm sure we might have, there's a lot of different, we already know the FBI is here as well.
I think they'll wait for us.
Bringing up some different
Can
audio
everyone
here.
grab their mic and put it on this bar?
That's just some of the news photographers there getting ready for some, I think for some officials to perhaps join as well. Let's get to some of the other comments that are coming in. Again, use hashtag KJB and I can address your comment by name. Mystics Rue, hashtag KJB. Is this a terror attack? By no indications at this time is this a terror attack. This is a shooting that took place near a school. And there's also been some talk in our comment section about whether or not this is gang activity. I think based on what we have heard from the reporters with our NBC sister station, NBC4 in Washington, D.C., that at this time, this does not appear to be gang-related, though there's just so much that's unclear with this story as it continues to unfold. So we cannot say with certainty, but right now, based on what NBC4 is reporting, it doesn't appear to be gang related. We'll of course pay close attention to the information coming out of DC and try to provide clarification on that.
Right now, until the mayor comes.
Hang in. In addition to checking video feeds, we're also checking audio feeds as well. So I'm going to bring up different audio channels just to hear, because we might have a reporter on a microphone giving us new information. So it's really important for us to also pay attention to some of the audio that's coming in. Deb Jackson Smith, hashtag KJB, it looked like a vehicle being towed. Did you see it? I did not see a vehicle being towed. I'll ask our YouTube and Facebook audience to help me out, though. Is Deb the only one that saw a vehicle being towed? It's very possible. We've seen a lot of tactical units arriving in utility vehicles. And let's see if we can bring up some audio here.
Your name and your outlet. Thank you so much.
Okay, so as mentioned earlier, what normally will happen is that they will now kind of consolidate the media staging area and try to get all the reporters and photographers in one place. This is done for several different reasons, for their own safety, and also too to provide an easy access point for all the reporters to be given information to let the public know what is unfolding and when it is a safe area to be in. Clearly, right now, it is not a safe area because it's still an active shooter investigation. I'm not seeing too many other. Susan C, hashtag JB, have the 3 victims been transported to the hospital? By what we have seen, the 3 victims, 3 people that have been shot, I believe are being.
While I'm talking.
I'm not sure who this is.
Tell me when you're ready. We're ready. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3.
All right, they're wearing a news polo, so this is a reporter. Let's just listen in for a moment. Go live.
Hey, can we get a mic check on that?
Yeah, mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone good? Talk. 1, 2. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue.
Scene here as well. I'm at the media staging area. standing on
Anyone need
Connecticut
it?
Avenue at the intersection
Talk, talk,
with
talk, talk,
Porter
talk,
Street,
talk.
and you can see
Red,
the
orange,
scene,
yellow,
the vast
green,
scene
blue.
right up the
You need
street
it?
here
You
as you
good?
look north
Everyone's good?
on Connecticut Avenue. Police
Want it?
car after police car with flashing lights. There is a lot of activity here. We were told to set up here. There are a lot of cameras from a lot of different stations here, a lot of chaos.
Clear podium, thank you.
This might be a press conference getting underway. We have some DC officials walking the streets, including law enforcement, so this might be an update. We'll continue to listen in.
Our way here for the news conference to update us, and there's an assistant chief who's going to provide an update as well. This will be the first time that we are getting official information with DC police on camera this afternoon since this incident began to unfold in the 3 o'clock hour. So we're hoping to find out more details in terms of how many people were injured in this shooting. What is the status of the shooter or shooters? We don't know at this point, and so we're hoping to get updated information and to see, you know, is this still an active, ongoing situation right now? So you can see that she's making her way here with DC police officials. There's also representation from the DC Fire Department. They're all planning to be here and potentially provide statements. And you can see off in the distance all of the flashing police lights. So this is still a very active situation out here. So you can see she's making her way here, and we'll wait for her to speak.
This is Mayor Muriel Bowser, Washington, D.C.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Assistant Chief Stuart Emmerman of the Metropolitan Police Department. At approximately 3:20 this afternoon, members of the Metropolitan Police Department responded to the area of Connecticut Avenue and Van Ness Street Northwest for the reported sounds of gunshots. Upon their arrival at that scene, the officers located 3 individuals who were suffering from gunshot wounds. All 3 individuals have been taken to area hospitals where they are currently being treated. 2 of the individuals are adults and are considered in stable condition based on their injuries. The 3rd victim is a juvenile, and that juvenile is also in stable condition with a minor gunshot wound. At this time, our units are currently in the area of Connecticut and Van Ness conducting a search for a suspect or suspects. That is still to be determined as our investigation is continuing this time. We're asking the public to stay away from this area as we continue to do our search and continue our investigation. This is a very early point in our investigation, and we're still trying to figure out the motive or what specifically took place here. Are there any questions?
There's a report, Chief, that the authorities located a tripod of some type that may have been connected to whoever the shooter is. Is that true? And if so, what would that tell you?
I don't have information on that at this time to give. At this point, we do not have any suspects in custody. We're interviewing several witnesses. As would naturally happen during an incident like this, several individuals ran from the area. So we did stop several individuals to conduct witness investigations with them. But that's what is, I think, being reported as suspects. Those are people we're interviewing from the scene. As we conduct our investigation, if they are not linked to the incident, yes, they will be released. That is still to be determined at this time, but no members of the Metropolitan Police Department that responded or of our partner agencies that responded have been injured during the course of this incident.
Are you aware of the shooter live streamed this at all?
There is information out there on social media. However, we have not been able to authenticate that at this time to determine whether that is even related to our incident.
Can you clarify, how do you not know
I'm sorry.
law enforcement? Can you clarify, how do you know if it's yet to be determined if any of the individuals shot?
None of the responding members from our law enforcement agency and partners that were on the scene here have been injured as a result.
Right, is it possible any of the individuals who were shot were members of some law enforcement agency?
That is still to be determined. They're in the hospital being treated right now at this time.
Darcy.
We are still trying to determine that. I'm sorry? Is what related? I'm sorry. Oh, the victims? That we are still trying to determine as well at this time. As I said, this investigation is still very much in its early stages.
Chief, at this point, we heard from some people they were surprised to see how large a response there was out here.
Well, I would say based upon the calls that we got and the information and the fluid nature of this investigation, an appropriate response came to this area to make sure that we've locked down the neighborhood, we've made sure that folks up here are safe and sheltering, and we're continuing to do a very thorough search. As you know, some of these buildings are very large. They've taken some time for us to go through, especially based on the information that we have at the beginning of this investigation. So we're getting assistance right now from the United States Park Police, United States Secret Service Uniform Division. We've got assistance here from the University of District Columbia Police. We also have some of our federal entities from ATF, FBI, and there are several others who are trying to assist us in this. We don't know that answer at this time. We're still trying to authenticate that video.
Is there more than one shooting location?
No, at this time we believe we have one location.
I was going to ask, Chief, can you tell us about where the victims were found? Were they grouped together? Do you believe they were all wounded in the same area? Can you describe that area to us?
So I don't have that information this time because, as naturally it happens after individuals were shot, some of them moved to different locations where we encountered them. So we're still piecing all that together as part of our investigation.
Sam.
There are several apartment buildings in that area. As part of our investigation, we are canvassing and searching all of those areas. We're still trying to determine that.
Are any of the embassies involved?
Not that I'm aware of. There are embassies in the immediate area, so we are working with our partners from the U.S. Secret Service Uniform Division to make proper notifications to them as well.
Are you asking people in this immediate area information?
Yes. Yes, at this time, please, we're asking if you are residing in this area to please shelter in place. Please stand by until we render the area clear and safe. If you do have information, we're asking you to call our Command Information Center at 202-727-9099, or you can text us at 50411, any information that you may have. We're still trying to determine that. This investigation is still, like I say, we're in its early stages. We're going to be investigating all angles of that.
Did you say the condition of those in the hospital?
Everybody at this point is stable. I believe 2 of them are critical but stable.
Expected to survive?
Is my hope and understanding that they will, but they are critical but stable.
Chief, what was that phone number again?
Oh yes, there is a school up in the area of Van Ness and Connecticut. That school immediately went into a lockdown. Their students are inside the building at this point until we determine that the area is safe for them to leave. We have police officers inside the school with them. As soon as we have it situated that it is safe for them, we will make sure that the school system is notifying the parents of a reunification center where we can get them safely to reunite with their children. But we're asking the parents not to come up here to the school at this time. The children are all in the school, safe with the officers that are in there.
Chief, with the helicopter going overhead, can you take us from the top here? What did you guys have happen here, so we can all hear it, make sure that we're clear about what happened?
Sure.
Can I follow up on this? We heard reports that 2 students had minor injuries from breaking glass, and some of the parents had some of their tires shot out at pickup. But again, it's a fluid situation.
Correct.
I don't have verification of that.
Correct. That is all stuff that we are working on right now. As you know, we do believe that there are some vehicles on the scene that were damaged as a result of the shooting, so that's part of our investigation to determine if that was in fact part of this.
Chief, you want to answer Clarence,
yes.
Please?
So again, to recap, at about 3:20, members of the Metropolitan Police Department responded to the area of Van Ness in Connecticut in regards to the sounds of gunshots, where we located 3 shooting victims, 2 adults who are in critical but stable condition at our area hospitals, and a third, which was a juvenile who is stable with a minor gunshot wound, also being treated at an area hospital. We do not know any relationships at this point between any of these 3. We are currently continuing to search the area, and we have it locked down at this point as we're looking for any suspect or suspects. We do not have a motive at this time. We do not know the full details of what took place, but we continue to ask the public to just steer clear of the area as we continue to investigate.
Right here, Chief.
How close was that gunfire to the school attack?
We're still trying to figure that out. We believe it was in the immediate area.
Back there, Chief.
From the initial reports about why law enforcement responded, did they have an indication of what type of weapon was used based off the sound?
No, unfortunately, I don't have that information yet.
Chief, there was a report of a suspect being detained, taken away in handcuffs. Can you confirm that?
So as I stated earlier, several people naturally ran from the scene of hearing gunshots, and as the officers responded very quickly to the scene, as individuals were running, we did detain several individuals to determine their status, whether or not they were suspects or witnesses. But at this time, I do not believe that we have any suspects at this time detained, and we're continuing our investigation.
Chief, right now, are you going off the theory that this gunman is still in this immediate area or may have left the area?
We're still exploring all our theories, but right now we are concentrating on in the immediate area to make sure that we've rendered this area safe for the public as well as everybody who's out here.
Are your people going door to door?
We are in several buildings doing door-to-door sweeps right now.
Do you have a description? Just anything? A tall guy, short guy?
We do not have any description at this time that I can put out.
How do you kind of know what to look for in the buildings?
That's part of the reason why we're doing a very thorough sweep.
Any surveillance video you're looking at?
We're still working on pulling videos to help our investigation.
It was a little loud when he asked about that streaming video. It looks like people are saying the shooter streamed his vantage point.
So there is a social media video that is out, but we have not yet been able to authenticate that that's even this scene, that's even today, or that's even here in the United States. We're still working on that.
Mayor, your thoughts, concerns?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of our first responders, the Metropolitan Police Department, Fire and EMS, all of our federal partners who are on this scene, who are responding and looking for the person responsible for this shooting. We have 3 of our residents who have been injured, and we are praying for their health and well-being. We understand 2 are in stable condition and that there was a minor gunshot wound to a child. And so we're very focused on that. We're asking all of our residents to follow law enforcement instructions, stay in your homes, shelter in place until the police are able to release these scenes and safely really dig into this investigation close to where the shootings happened.
One more question.
Last question, please.
The initial reports when the victims were discovered, were there any reports of Good Samaritans stopping bleeding, anyone jumping into action before paramedics arrived?
I have heard that. I have not been able to confirm that yet, though.
Can we get some sense of how many shots we think were fired?
There's one school there. There's, I believe, another school in the area that may have had some individuals that ran towards it. I believe that they were not affected.
Chief,
the adults, one is a male, one is a female. Correct.
Chief, can you give us some description on how many shots you believe may have been fired from witnesses or any
Multiple shots. We do not have that information yet.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We'll circle back with you. We'll circle back. Thank you.
An update from police officials as well as the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, updating the public on, again, the search for I want to bring this up here from our comment section. Susan Regdos, #KJB, wow, shooter or shooters on the loose. And that is accurate. Shooter or shooters, according to the police official that we just heard from. This is some of the video from earlier, for those of you joining us in the last several minutes, when this was a very active scene earlier on in the live stream. We originally launched on Facebook, then we got up on YouTube, but there was a lot of action early on in this live stream of, people being evacuated from the scene, as well as units and tactical gear arriving, guns drawn, pointed at the Ava Van Ness apartment building as well. But shooter or shooters on the loose, according to Washington, D.C. police officials. We also have 3 shot in critical but stable condition. Their hope is that all 3 are going to survive. We have an adult male, adult female, and then a juvenile who is not being, of course, identified in any capacity. All 3 of them transported to nearby hospitals where they are receiving treatment for their injuries in critical but stable condition, which is, of course, encouraging news. When we have of course, the reports of 3 people shot, your mind immediately goes to, my goodness, could we be talking about fatalities? In this case, as of right now, it appears that there is hope that all 3 victims in this case are going to survive. Let's get back to some of the comments. I have Facebook and YouTube comments brought up here as well. We'll also pay attention to Some of the reporters that are at the scene preparing for live reports to bring us the latest. We'll, of course, listen into them because they are the ones closest to this story and might have some new information to bring us. In the meantime, though, we'll go back to some of the other video that we have had. These are snippets now of the last hour or so, the shooting occurring at around 3:20, or the police response, 3:20 Eastern Time in our nation's capital, about, again, 4 miles or so from the White House, give or take. There you see some of the officials running, as we noted earlier. So let's go into Ruth Sims on comment on the YouTube live comment section, #AJB. Did they say if it was a targeted attack or just random? They do not know at this time. Also, I've been receiving messages, Facebook and YouTube, people commenting and messaging me on my WFLA JB account saying, check out this video, this video, this video. And the videos that have been surfacing on social media, this was just referenced in the press conference. They have no way, well, they do. It's just they have to authenticate that that video is in fact real and does in fact show the shooting, and also too how consequential of video evidence that they actually have on their hands. Because if they just have somebody nearby in an apartment building hearing shots, that's one thing. If they have something that's more pertinent to the ongoing investigation, of course, that is going to be something they're going to really target their digital team. Just about every major law enforcement agency in the country now has a digital team working on video evidence that comes in a situation like this. They are going to comb through as much of that activity as possible, but to authenticate it and make sure it's verified to have been connected to this investigation, that takes time. That's not just something that you figure out just by looking at it. There's got to be, of course, an investigation into that video to ensure that that is the real deal, so to speak. Again, following up on some of the different feeds that we've got, let's show you an aerial feed. We've got a chopper flying over Washington, D.C. We'll monitor the different live feeds that we have as well. And any other comments with #AJB, I will feature out of the Facebook Live or YouTube Live comment section. Hello to those of you joining on the WFLA JB Facebook page as well. Also want to let you know, too, for our YouTube audience in particular, I'd like to give a big thanks to, we have begun the process of adding moderators to our YouTube Live comment section so that it is filled with information. Of course, well, you're going to get at any social media comment section is going to be filled with speculative information and people asking questions and thinking that they see something that's reliable information on the internet. But really, I want to just like to take a moment to thank the YouTube moderators that are moderating our YouTube Live comment section, because what they are doing as well is they are helping us police our comment section and making it a friendly and welcoming place for all. Mystics Rue on YouTube Live, #AJB, did you watch the video? It looks like the same area that you're covering now. I have seen videos on social media. I have seen, I think, the video that people are referencing of hearing shots fired. Again, just like law enforcement, we can't authenticate that, can't show it on air. It's got to be, of course, verified to be connected to this story before, of course, we can air it. And let's get to some of the comments on Facebook Live. And not seeing too many on Facebook, though we'll try to check out a couple of others. In the meantime, we have another live report. Let's listen in.
And, at this point, we don't know where that shooter is. So that's the level of danger that we're dealing with right now. Someone who potentially fired many, many rounds. Many folks were saying it sounded like automatic gunfire, and yet that person is still at large as far as we know. That's the frightening thing here. A little bit of good news in that the child who was hit by gunfire suffered a minor injury. What you're looking at right now, we're on Connecticut Avenue at Porter Street. This is the media staging area where the officials just spoke. So we're looking north up Connecticut Avenue so you can see just how the street is filled with police cars. The police presence is still here, very active. Two of the adult victims, a man and a woman, they are in critical condition, as you said, but police made it clear that they are stable, and certainly it's hopeful that they will survive this shooting. Many, many questions asked by reporters at this news conference, including, was this a targeted shooting? they simply don't know. They don't know the type of weapon that may have been used. Was there more than one shooter? This is all what they're still trying to figure out themselves. So they were not able to answer a lot of the questions that we had. They were also asked about social media posts showing certain things, including the shooting, and they're not confirming any of those videos at this point. As you know, they're focused on this investigation right now and getting this shooter into custody. Those sorts of things will come later. But they are going to look for potential surveillance video and other videos that are going to help them with this investigation, again, determining who is responsible for the shooting, get this person into custody before anyone else can be hurt today. The mayor made it clear, and the officials here, it's very important for people to stay out of this area. Of course, you know, a lot of people are curious and they want to come out and see what's happening. But they're saying, please don't do that, because I can tell you, it's very crowded here. There's a lot of media here, and there are people trying to get through here, police officers also going by us. So they're urging people, and if you're in that zone that you're seeing behind me, they're asking you to stay in your home as they conduct these searches. Let's hear a little bit of what the assistant chief had to say.
They're now playing back on NBC4 in Washington, playing back a clip of the press conference, tapping into this live camera feed, not the television signal. So that's why you're not hearing the sound from the law enforcement officer that just gave the press conference. We've got some more questions answered coming your way after this reporter wraps up.
Take your time when you tell what happened. Okay? You got about, you gotta do weather, traffic, roll breaks, and then back to you. Okay. Yes.
And you heard the mayor just then telling people to, if you're in that area where this active investigation is going on, to stay in your home. That's the safest place to be, because you're seeing in the video how dangerous it is. They're trying to...
On the right side of your screen, we have more students being evacuated and taken to safety. You see that there on the right side of your screen.
Knowing 3 people have already been shot, and them wanting to get someone into custody before anyone else gets hurt. Back to you.
Oh, dude.
We will, of course, stand by for any additional commentary there, any additional reports from the reporters on the ground. Let's again show you that live shot. That was rolling video. This is a live picture from Washington, D.C. We also have this feed here as well. That's an aerial feed where we just saw what appears to be more students being evacuated. It's important to note, I didn't mention this after the press conference, the police officials did say that there are still people sheltered in place, still students at the school nearby that are, of course, staying where they are located for their own safety. Let's also answer one of the questions that we had. We had a comment, and I'm going to see if I can bring it up. With hashtag KJB, and I'm trying to scroll through. I don't remember if I saw it on Facebook or YouTube, but I'll shout out some hashtag KJB comments here in just a moment. But somebody had asked a moment ago, how close is this to a school campus? This is right within a square block The Ava Van Ness apartment building is located pretty much really, in essence, across the street from, this is the University of the District of Columbia is right in the vicinity. In fact, the student center is on the corner of where this shooting is said to have occurred. It's hard to pinpoint exactly on a map where the shooting happened, but in the general 1 or 2 square block area that we do have, and the shooting with the apartment building being a massive focus, that's right near, really, just catty corner, if you will, diagonally across the street from the University of the District of Columbia. So it's all happening in an area where students are walking outside, they're going to class, they're coming from class, they're going to get lunch. This is an area where you're going to see a lot of foot traffic with students that attend that particular university. Going to some of the other comments. Aaron Davis, #AJB, where were the people when they were shot? Excellent question, and that was not provided in the press conference that we were just given. Were they outside? Were they indoors? Were they hit by stray gunfire? These are all questions that, that, of course, that you're going to have naturally in the aftermath of a shooting. Really, and again, I say aftermath, but we're not even really at the aftermath portion of it because we still have shooter or shooters at large. So this is still a situation where they're trying to get an arrest made. We noted earlier that there was a person that was brought into custody that was taken in handcuffs, or somebody that was seen in handcuffs, but that was not connected to the shooting investigation based on what we just saw in the press conference from Washington, D.C. officials. So they do not have any arrests in this case, even though we did see somebody who appeared to be, it wasn't on this feed, but we had multiple people commenting. We had multiple reports coming in of somebody being seen being taken away from the area in handcuffs. That's an unconfirmed report. Let me point that out. But still, that what we can say that is confirmed is that there's no arrest at this time. Steve Boyd, #AJB, there is more law enforcement than usual for a domestic shooting. No, this is a pretty big response, is it not? We have an active shooter. It's in our nation's capital. FBI, ATF, all on scene, state law enforcement, local law enforcement, 4 miles or so away from the Capitol District. There's a lot of law enforcement in this area, so a heavy law enforcement response, but also, too, with it being near a school, schools, of course, densely populated, there's going to be a heavy law enforcement response, without question. We have another shot here of a chopper in the air. Let's see, is this a news? Nope, that is a law enforcement chopper, not a news chopper. And I can't read which agency that's with, but chances are there's multiple law enforcement choppers in the air, especially considering that this is not wrapped up yet. We still have a shooter or shooters on the loose, and having a chopper in the air, it's very important to have somebody in the sky pointing out any suspicious activity on the ground. Let's get to, there was another comment that was about, yeah, Lauren Davis. I'm going to shout out Lauren Davis's comment on YouTube Live, #AJB. For those of us just joining, what the heck is going on? Any details, description on the shooter at large? We don't have a description. They don't even know how many people are responsible for the shooting. They don't even know if it's one or multiple. So we don't have a description right now. And that's really important to point out, because when you have details on what the shooter or shooters might look like, you can get that information out to the public and keep the public safe. Because if the shooter, or again, shooters, has left this area, then there is a shooter at large in an area that is not within the perimeter that police have set up. That's potentially a massively hazardous situation when you have somebody that has inflicted harm on somebody else, in this case 3 others, potentially able to strike again. So you do not want that to occur. And so we don't have a description like we did, and I'm going to go back to the most recent time that we were live here on WFLA Now with a situation like this, when we had the explosion that occurred, not the explosion, excuse me, well, the smoke grenade that went off, and then the shooting that occurred in the Brooklyn subway. That, of course, we started to get details on a description soon thereafter. In this case, we don't have a description yet, which this happening at 3:20. The press conferencing happening approximately 2.5 hours after that. Yeah, that's an interesting note to pass along as well. Again, if you're trying to get my attention with a comment or question, you can use hashtag AJB in our social media comment section. Let's go back to some of the earlier video. This is now video from somewhere in the 4 to 5:15 range, roughly. David Queenan, hashtag AJB is Eagle 8 HD on their way. Eagle 8 HD is in the nest in Tampa, and it would take a very long time for Eagle 8 HD to get there. That's why we have our sister stations reporting for us from Washington, D.C. But let me point that out, too. It's very common as well with an unfolding active shooter situation for a TFR, temporary flight restriction, to be ordered for the airspace above an active shooter situation. Why? They don't want, half a dozen news helicopters in the air and potentially it getting dangerous for law enforcement choppers to be in the air. They want to clear the air so that law enforcement can operate within that airspace and try to assist units on the ground. So even if we did have a helicopter with a sister station, it's going to be, actually, we do have one in the air. And, it's been a wide out shot, so I don't know. And some of the folks that are really big into aviation, they can let me know as well if a TFR has been issued. I'll look for some of the comments in YouTube Live as we have this now super zoomed in shot. You can tell with the focal range of this shot, this is really, really zoomed in. So there's a chopper in the air, and it's very likely that a chopper is outside the temporary flight restriction. That's kind of the long answer. Nick Rose asking in our comment section, why was the president not at the press conference? This is Northwest Washington, D.C., and not necessarily near the White House or near the U.S. Capitol. So it would be very, very irregular for the President of the United States to speak about and be at the scene of a local shooting. The idea is to keep the president safe, not bring him closer to an active shooter situation. And with a shooter or shooters on the loose, the idea is, again, to keep the president of the United States safe from harm, not draw him closer to harm. I saw another comment that just came in. Tommy Morris, hashtag AJB, saying, big fan. Thank you. Are we sure they are done shooting? Until we have arrests, until we have a suspect or suspects in custody, there's no guarantee that a shooting situation is completely done with. It's very possible that if we don't have somebody apprehended, there is a risk for additional violence until they actually have a suspect or suspects in custody. So that's why this is such an extensive law enforcement presence. That's why we have so many law enforcement agencies being represented here on the ground in Washington, D.C. The more units they can have on the ground, trying to find whomever is responsible for this, the quicker that they can deem this area of Washington, D.C. safe for all. Again, so that let's go live screen, or excuse me, split screen live again, and show you the two camera feeds that we have on the left side of your screen. A ground shot showing it's pretty dramatic. The amount of law enforcement presence, ambulance presence, medical presence here as well, and then we have the shots coming in showing that's the Ava Van Ness apartment building. I believe they're zooming in on there on the right side of your screen. This is a chopper as well. So a live chopper feed on the right, ground shot there on the left. Lauren Davis asking hashtag AJB, what was the order of events? Did the shooter approach a certain building or person? What leads investigators to believe that there may be multiple perpetrators? That wasn't clarified in the press conference. It's interesting that they have information where there may or may not be multiple suspects in this case and multiple people are responsible for this shooting. However, they don't have a description yet, or it's. I think the big thing to take away from that press conference is just that this is still highly fluid, still a rapidly evolving situation. They could have been getting information 90 seconds after that press conference concluded that gives them a more accurate description of whomever is responsible for this. They also might not be releasing all of the details and likely aren't releasing all of the details that they have at this time as we look at some more of the video of those being rushed to safety. This is around, I believe, around 4:30, 5 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. For some of the commenters asking, there is no evidence whatsoever of this having any international implications. That this is from all accounts, this is a shooting that occurred near a school, a local response evolving into a state and then federal response, but at no time has there been any indication whatsoever that this has any international implications, any connections to terror, or any entity or organization outside of the United States. I'm seeing some of those comments in our comment section. I can assure you that at this time there's been zero reports of anything linking this to anything beyond even Washington D.C. That this is believed to be a domestic incident. Another a report, I think, coming our way as well. 1065 reporter in our comments section saying #KJB, I'm a mother of a student in Northwest Washington, D.C. and without WFLA, that would not have been able to get in touch with my daughter and tell her to go to her dormitory immediately. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very grateful to hear that that your daughter was able to get to safety. These are scary situations that unfold. Tommy Morris saying #KJB, I have a friend near there. They're scared. A lot of folks know people in the DC area, and this isn't anything. There have been shootings that have occurred in DC. This one, we have an active shooter situation. We have a suspect or suspects at large, and we have 3 people that have been shot near a school, including a juvenile. So the response here is appropriate as far as getting all of these law enforcement agencies on the ground in the area to help assist in trying to track down whom is responsible and bring them into custody. And really praying that anybody who has found this live stream is who knows anybody that is that maybe attends this school, again, the University of the District of Columbia, or a nearby college. Just letting you know that sending our thoughts your way, because this is it can be traumatic, especially for parents who send their students to that school, and then if there's a communication breakdown and you can't get a hold of that student, you immediately go into panic mode, and you're trying to find out what is happening, and you're seeking information, and sometimes they'll find live streams like this one just clamoring for any information. So thinking about those parents of the University of District of Columbia students who might have had a very scary afternoon. Let's get back to a live aerial feed that we have. We'll get to this comment from Facebook. Stacy Russell, #JB. Why is this not on any news stations? I know it's been already mentioned on WFLA, and I know that network news has been on it. And if you're a viewer in the Washington, D.C. area, if you tune into your ABC, NBC, CBS, or ABC, NBC, CBS, or Fox station in Washington, D.C., I can almost guarantee you're going to find coverage immediately of this story. So if you're turning on your TVs outside of the Washington, D.C. area, it is very likely that you are in your local news right now, the time now being 6 o'clock Eastern. That is really the flagship hour for local news here in the U.S. So at least that's 6 o'clock Eastern time. So that might be the reason why you're turning on your TV and not seeing coverage of this. Local news stations will cover this, but of course they have their, of course there's the focus on local for them. And so wherever you're joining us from, that is probably going to be the subject matter of the newscast that you're watching. Jocelyn Sanchez, hi there to you. Just kind of going back to Facebook for a moment and getting some Facebook comments mentioned here on stream, saying #KJB, are the people shot related? Don't know. And we don't know if there's any connection between them. Again, adult male, adult female, juvenile, all shot, all critical but stable condition, and the hope is with law enforcement that all three are going to survive. If there was a situation where they had concerns about one or multiple of these victims being in a life-threatening situation, they tell you. They're not going to say we are hopeful that they are going to survive if they aren't confident releasing that out to the public. If it is a situation in a nearby hospital where we have one of the people in critical condition and it's not looking promising, usually you're going to get that response from area officials when they're reporting that to the media. Coyote in our YouTube comment section, thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, Stephanie Grant, #KJB, Howard University School of Law right there too. This is an education hub. There's several different educational institutions that have a presence in this area. So I'm really grateful, Stephanie, that you brought that up, because we've been talking a whole lot about the University of the District of Columbia, which is their Van Ness campus, right there. But there's other educational institutions that have a presence there, including Howard, as I understand it. Yeah, and Sneaky Blunders on YouTube saying, I've been in contact with students at Burke School and they seem to be safe. Tommy Serial, #KJB, how many students are currently in the campus? That's a great question. We do know that there are still students and educators on lockdown, sheltering in place for their own safety. The actual number, I don't think we were provided with. David, thank you again for the kind comment. Some kind comments here, and Ruel as well. Thank you. That's very kind of you guys. But again, focusing on the subject matter at hand. Oh, we have an interview here. Let's listen in.
We knocked, and then they escorted us, like shields in the back, shields in the front. Then we just went out. They asked us a couple questions and things like that. But yeah, as I said, it's just scary.
What were you thinking as you were walking, surrounded by police and shields and your neighbors?
Honestly, I was just thinking about, because they said there was a kid that got shot. I was just thinking about the parents of those kids, and it's just scary because anybody could be a victim of an act like that. So it's just scary. As I said, scary is the definition of everything that happened.
Did you hear any of the shots?
Yeah, we heard, like, as I said, it was around 20. I think it was way more than 20 shots, but 20, like 5 shots and then a break, 5 shots, break, 5 shots, break, 5 shots.
Okay, so rapid fire,
Yeah.
and a break in between.
Yeah,
Did
exactly.
you see any of the victims or any damage to any?
I didn't see anything, and I'm glad that I didn't see. But yeah, it was just, I could just hear the noise and everything. Yeah.
You didn't see the gunman or anything?
No, nothing. I didn't see. The first time we heard the shot, my roommate, he saw a couple kids running. The Burke School kids, I'm pretty sure, they were running and screaming, and that's why we were like, okay, let's see what's going on. And then when we found out that it was a shooting.
What's next for you? You can't go back in.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I just have to wait. I don't know, just wait and see. I hope everything is okay. I hope all the victims are good and they're safe. Yeah.
And do you want to give your name?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
My name is Samuel.
How do you spell that?
Samuel. Samuel Nicolodi, Nicolodi.
All right. Thank you very much for
Sure.
speaking
Yeah.
to us. Are you a student? Or?
Student. Yeah, I'm a student. I play soccer at UDC.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm a junior. Yeah. So.
At UDC?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Glad
sure.
You're okay.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the student, very calm and collected for somebody that just went through something so traumatic. As we see the media staging area and some of the equipment on the ground with some of the news camera crews. This is what it looks like, folks, behind the perimeter and in the media staging area where police tell you to be near an active shooter situation. Again, as we look at some of the aerial shots, but yeah, a very calm and composed interview there by that witness, a student witness, who described, hearing rapid fire with like 5-second breaks between. That, of course, with there being, by his witness account, there being multiple instances where he heard shots fired separated by several seconds. That of course is troubling. Makes you wonder what could have been unfolding in that moment, as somebody it looks like was, or by indications or with what that report would suggest, could that person have been trying to inflict damage on a particular individual or individuals? Again, it sounded like that there was gunfire separated by several seconds and then repeated gunfire and then over and over again. All right, folks. So this can be a situation that could take hours to unfold. And with no press conference imminent, we're going to be wrapping up our live stream on WFLA Now. I'll try to keep my focus on the DC area and try to pass along any new information that we get on my WFLA JB social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, not as much, but I am on Instagram as well, and try to keep you guys updated on the latest information. But really, the latest information is going to be on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. There's a link in the description on this video that'll take you over to the latest that we have on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. Any final questions? No, I think everyone's just saying thank you very much. Yeah, folks, the latest on this story, you can click on the link, description on this video. It'll take you over to WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We have coverage there. And again, for those of you joining us from the DC area, hope that you stay safe. And all my thoughts and prayers, of course, to everybody impacted by this shooting and all those connected to the University of the District of Columbia and the adjacent campuses as well. The latest on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. Thanks so much to everybody in the Facebook Live and YouTube Live comment sections.